Brett, you've talked about being a defensive-minded coach, and I think a lot of coaches think that way because that's been proven that's the way to win championships. But from a fan's perspective, when you're winning 82 to 76 or 78 to 74, it's good entertainment. When you're always on the 76 side or the losing side of those close games, it's not so entertaining. How do you convince the fans in Philadelphia to stick with this team as you go through this process if they're losing a lot of low-scoring games that might not be attractive?
I think that I wouldn't have done a good job of explaining. I'm not saying you're going to sacrifice scoring just because you're going to play good defense. I think it's one of the great mistakes people make, that when you come up and you talk about defense, it doesn't mean that you're a low possession team. We want to go. We want to get out in open court and we want to run. It's one of the things that when we assess measurements, what type of measurements should we look at in order to determine if we had a good year or a bad year? Forget wins and losses. One of the main things we're going to look at is pace. We have to feature amongst the top teams in the league or heading in that direction if I'm really going to stay true to my word that we're going to run. And we're going to run, but it's easy to say that. You get 30 coaches in the league that would come up here and say the same thing. Everybody wants, it's hard running. It's hard running over 82 games. And you really can't do that unless you have an extraordinary fitness base. And you play 10, 11 deep. So I do see the game through a defensive lens, but it doesn't influence the other side to the point where we're going to score 76 points. I hope we're going to put more points on the board than that, and I hope that you're going to see a team that is exciting to see offensively and is appreciated with the competitiveness and the toughness defensively.
Hi, Brett. I'm Dee Lynham with Comcast Sportsnet. I'm curious, what on the roster, because we know it has holes in it, what you actually like about that you already have?
I've always been a fan of Thaddeus. I see in Evan just that potential. You see the versatility of Spencer. You pay attention to Michael Williams and what he did in college. The young guys that Sam is looking at. I think that with a healthy, fit Lavoie, what he can bring to the table. I think the pieces are there where we can build around it. And the thing that I've always felt when we come to Philadelphia is that they bring an energy. I feel that there is a toughness that almost the city demands. And I really look forward to seeing some of the young guys that we're going to try to bring along and cultivate. But the pieces that are in place, workable pieces, and I look forward to working with them.
Brett, as you envision this season, possibilities many times could exist where the players are giving you 100% effort, but you're down by 15 points in the third quarter. You call a timeout. What do you envision your message is to the players in that kind of scenario where they're giving you everything they can, talent-wise perhaps just not able to stay up to speed?
I think it'll be a balance of both, where you're going to be with them. You're going to be in the trenches with them. You're going to try to get them up. Or you're going to tell them the truth. If there's a defensive problem, then there's a defensive problem. If they're not running their lane, they're not running the lane. There are games where you step back and you just say, well, maybe we need a little bit more juice. Maybe we just don't have enough goods to compete on the night. I think it's just a fine line with coaching where you just got to feel it out and deliver whatever message is honest, really.
Brett, when you mentioned the players that you liked, on many good teams, they would be backup players. Who do you think, your stars, if, in fact, the 76ers have any?
And, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to take some time for me to look at them and coach them. And I've been lucky to be around the Duncans and Parkers and Ginobilis and All-Stars. You know, I think I understand the DNA that those types of players have that makes them great players. And it far exceeds, oh, Timmy's got a post move, or Tony's got a floater, or Ginobili, you know, is just a fierce warrior. It's all those things with people and relationships and put them in positions. And, you know, I don't know enough about the players to make an accurate answer. I hear your question. I just can't give an answer right now.
Brett, since this franchise last won a championship in 30 years, there have only been 8 NBA cities that have won, including the Spurs. Is that a flaw in the game, or what does that say about how difficult it is and what the task is for this franchise to get back into that level?
Listen, and I see this. I've been a part of 5 NBA championships. We've won 4. I've been a part of 5 Game 7s. It's hard. You appreciate how hard it is playing in May, and how really hard it is playing in June, and how even great players on that type of stage, great players, for whatever reason, you know, the environment gets too big. And it's really something I'd say on 2 levels. First and foremost, everybody's got a right to dream, and I'm no different. Secondly, it is such a long ways away, in my eyes. There is so much work that has to be done in order to even think about that. It's fair to dream, it's fair to think about it, but geez, you know, there isn't so much work and so much luck that we're all going to have to get to that level. It's a great place to think and aspire to get to, but it's a long road.
Brett, when you have players who are talented enough to get to this level, once they get here, how much development and teaching, is it different for different guys, I guess is the question. I mean, you come out of such a development background, you can work with guys' shots, you're a good clinician, all that stuff. But sometimes what you see is what you get at this level, or can you not believe that, I mean, about any guy?
I don't believe that, and I say it more from a purist. Like, I refuse to believe it. I think you can get good at whatever you choose to be if you invest time. I think where it becomes the responsibility of the coaches, you better choose the right thing. And, you know, I've seen guys over the years get floaters and jump shots, and I mean, look at Michael Carter-Williams. We know the roadmap that he's going to have to be put on. I've seen for many years people go on to pick and rolls on Tony Parker, and we learned how to, you know, take advantage of it. Then he became a better shooter and so on. And everybody's got their own roadmap. Everybody is communicated to differently. People learn differently, either through visual or speaking to them or walking through it with them. Everybody's different. But that is the Holy Grail. That's on me to figure out the roadmap. And I think once you do that and it becomes clear to them what their path is, they buy in and off you go. I love it. I think that's one of the greatest parts about the job is really trying to find a way to help somebody. It's probably the most true way to gain their trust.
Brett, Jason Wolf with the Wilmington News Journal. You mentioned the importance of commitment a little while ago. And given the task at hand with this position, the team as it rebuilds, how vital was it for you to decide to come here? How vital was it to have that 4-year guaranteed deal?
It was important. I was not going to take the job without the 4 years. And I am extremely grateful to the owners where they took a step back, and I think it's a tremendous reflection of what they truly think too. It's going to take time. They really do have a tolerance. There is a patience. And as much as it was security for myself, I felt like they made a statement to the marketplace that they're for real, that they really do see this being a long haul type of position. But it was vital to my decision. And I'm thrilled that they allowed me to have that duration.
This is for both of you guys. When you're talking about player development, in the case of Nerlens, how important, I mean, as a coach, if he's healthy, would you like to have him this year as far as getting his development? And Sam, is it in his best interest to play this year if he's deemed fully healthy? There's been a lot of debate about that.
Why don't you go first?
Of course I'd love to have him. Are you kidding me? Like, I look at him, and as I became interested in this position, you just dig in and you look at the highlights and the edits, and you know, I know where he's projected on different draft boards, and you start to pay attention a little bit more, and he's a deer, and you watch him run, and you watch his movement, and I like the fact that he can pass. Of course I'd love to have him. I mean, his future is what he wants it to be. He really is one of those building block type of players, and you know, I see him, and Sam will comment more on it, where he will be treated as exactly like he should be treated health-wise, where we will shade on the side of anything risky. His health will be held at a premium. So what that means going forward, I don't know. But in regards to would I like to have him, you bet.
Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer. This is for you, Brett. Brett, what's the timetable for having a coaching staff in place?
Fair question. I would like to think that we would be making strong headway by the first of the month. Like Sam has done in some levels trying to find a coach, you know, we're trying to do the same thing with the staff. Trying to find the right people and just putting them in the right positions. The bus will drive itself. And we both have high standards of those types of people you want sitting next to you, because we know it's not going to be easy. And we want high energy guys. I think with a young team, you're really going to have to look at some common qualities like that. But I would think that by the 1st of September, we'll be making grounds on almost filling up the staff. Very important decision.
Brett, the process of accountability that you spoke of earlier with your players, I'm just curious, from your time in San Antonio, do you think that what you experienced with those 3 stars is something that will apply not just to the 76ers but across the league if you get to players early enough when they're drafted or acquired? Or what you experience, is that sort of counter the normal process of the multi-million-dollar athlete that might not want to deal with that form of accountability to them?
I mean, those 3 guys are pretty special, and the fact that they've been with the program their whole career is very unique. I'm really not sure. You know, I think that those guys are different cats character-wise. They come to practice, they buy in. There's a discipline on how they act. There's a discipline with their diet. There's a discipline in them showing up on time. They genuinely care. They want to get better. Isn't it interesting when you ask somebody, do you really want to get better? Some people like that question. Some people, it takes them back. And I think that's a very strong, honest question. You know, do you really want to get better? And those 3 players, you saw on many different levels where they really displayed what a professional does and needs to do. And they teach coaches, you know, great players. You got to learn from all those guys. I've been lucky to learn a lot from that level.